This is Amit Kr Pathak, Faculty of English Literature, teaching in Jesus and Mary Academy. Today we will start the same story, The Little Match Girl, as I had taught you half of the story in the last class. As you know that I have taught you the till the first paragraph of page number 89. So I'll start from there. Let's start. Let me read it. She pulled one out to scratch how it spluttered and burnt, and it had a warm, bright flame like a tiny candle when she held her hand over it. She was feeling very cold, so she took out a matchstick and burned it. It seemed like she was, when it burned, it seemed like she was having a small candle in her hand. It seemed to the little girl as if she was sitting in front of a great iron stove with polished brass knobs and brass ornaments. And she was feeling as she was sitting in front of a stove, as she was getting enough heat to get her warm in such a cold temperature. The fire burned so beautifully and gave out such a lovely warmth. Oh, how wonderful that was! The child had already stretched her feet to warm them. When out went the flame, the stove vanished, and there she sat with the burned match in her hand. The fire from that particular matchstick burned so beautifully that she has got enough heat to get herself warm, as I told you. And it when it vanished, put off, what she has felt that all those things was just an imagination. The burned matchstick left in her hand after the matchstick vanished. Now you have to understand it that all those things that I just taught you was just an imagination. It didn't happen, but the author has trying to convince his readers through his imagination. Now again, she took out another matchstick and burned clearly. Where the light fell upon the wall, the brick became transparent. I think it is quite clear that when the last matchstick, or you can say that the very first matchstick that she burnt, when it vanished, she took out another matchstick and burned it. When the light fell upon the wall nearing to her, where she sat down in a corner of a road, when the light fell upon the wall, it becomes transparent. And what she saw after that? She saw a shining white cloth was spread on the table. It was covered with a beautiful china, and in the center of it stood a roast goose stuffed with prunes and apples, steaming deliciously. So she saw that there is a table and white cloth is spread over it. It is covered with a various china dish, or you can say that various bowls made up of soil, and in the center of it a roast goose. Goose, you can say that duck. A roast goose with some ripe plum. Now prunes means ripe plum. Plum is a fruit. Ripe plum, apples, and various other delicious food. Now you have to remember that I had told you in the last class that this is the last night of the year. So people are celebrating it. They have They are enjoying it. They have made delicious food at their house. The lights were shining. So, when the light fall, when she burned the matchstick and light fall over the nearing wall, she saw all these things. Now, we'll carry on. And what was even more wonderful was that the goose hopped down from the dish, waddled across the floor with carving knife and fork in its back. Another interesting thing happened that the goose, it seems like, ऐसा लग रहा था, the goose was jumped out of the table and start waddling. Waddling means walking over the floor with carving knife at his back towards the poor child. Then out went the match and nothing could be seen but the thick cold. And then all of a sudden, the match turned off. That means it was just an imagination. Nothing happened like that. The author is trying to